Tila Tequila.
Give me one moment. We'll get started in a minute. Also, as you come in, let me know if my audio is coming through clearly. If it is not, please let me know.
Something we don't and won't talk about. We are very ashamed of it, says Vandal.
All right, cool. I see Thomas is in here. We're gonna get started. Second, let me set that down. In fact, it's probably better that I had a little bit of time to come and actually sit and set up. Um, I think to grab the video, and so I'm gonna play a little bit of the audio. And if she actually goes into the Bible verses, I will pull that up also and read a little bit more for context. Let's see. Oh, alrighty, cool. Got that ready. All right. Let's see. Now you guys can see my ugly mug. All right. I guess I'm further back enough. Correct. This is what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage. Thank you all for joining me. As you guys saw the title, Tila Tequila, former internet star, and believe it or not, I was actually kind of surprised when I realized her celebrity actually came from MySpace. That Tila Tequila made MySpace. I mean, that's kind of mind boggling to me, but it is a true fact. So that is one of the two, and I have a video. I'm going to play a little bit of what she was saying, and the kind of funny thing about it is what she's saying. I'll play it when we get to that. Um, if Jay comes in, Jay, if you come in, please let me know. Any questions you have about about uranium poisoning, going ahead and just fire away, and I'll do my best to try to answer. And I'm trying to remember what was the other topic that I said. Oh, UFOs in the Bible? Maybe, maybe not. We're gonna try to figure out on that. So, without further ado, we will start off with Tila Tequila. And here's a oh, sorry. Here's a short part of it. Now, to kind of set up the clip a little bit, um, she is reading a Bible text, which is talking about black women, and well, it's talking about baldness on the scalp of the children of the not children, the daughters of Zion's head, and she is reading and giving her exegesis or her understand what sure. And so I'm going ahead and just let you hear it.
We are very ashamed of it, says Vanda, this black woman. So she says, we are very ashamed of it. So see, God's people don't walk around feeling shameful. God's people are walking around filled with glory and long hair. See? But if a woman has long hair, it's a glory to her. But yet this black woman says, all the black women feel, shameful.
And I wanted to pause there real quick because what she doesn't understand about it is it literally says that that is going to be a punishment on the daughters of Zion. It didn't say it didn't say when it was gonna go away. It says it's going to be a punishment on the daughters of Zion. So by default, bragging about your long hair would kind of prove you're not a daughter of Zion. It's kind of funny how she said that. And if you look at the name I think on her page, she calls herself Archangel Michael, I believe, which male, at least a male spirit, whatever. And she also calls herself the bride of Christ. And Christ would be from Zion. And okay, let me get it straight. So we're completely clear here. The daughters of Zion are supposedly stricken their scalp. And these black women are talking about shame because she's saying. Let me open up. Oh, goodness, I cannot get away from the bad signals. Home or on the road, same thing. Bear with me.
Because they're bald, and people are walking around filled with glory and long hair. See, but if a woman has long hair, it's a glory to her. But yet this black woman says, all the black women feel, shameful because they're bald. And I, as a woman, can understand because that's part of your beauty. It's part of, just natural women, having long hair is feminine. But without hair, you're just bald, nappy headed, crusty head. Walking around with your shame will follow you everywhere you go. No matter how much money you try to buy, to buy wigs. But before I go further, let me read you verse that God himself did that to you. God Almighty, my husband, did that to you. Let me read you what the Lord God says. There's a lot of these, you will know a man by his fruit. There's all these black women claiming to be the bride of Christ. Others claiming Jesus was black. But to their shame follows them everywhere. You'll know a man by his.
Actually, let me stop right there. While she said that, people saying that Jesus is black and all that, I'm just going to read a description and then I'll let you all tell me what you think this means. Just a quick description, and you all tell me what if maybe those people are crazy or not. All right, here we go. We're talking 1, Christ, which gave unto him to show unto his servants things really and sent and signified to whom his servant John. Okay, now let's skip down to the point. Let's see. Revelation 14. So we've established that we were talking about Jesus, right? His head and his hairs were white like wool and white as snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire. And his feet, 15? And his feet like unto fine brass, which in actuality, it would have been copper because they did not have brass in that time period. So keep in mind, and his feet like unto fine copper, as if they burn in a furnace. Now, you put anything in a furnace, what color does it come out? So are they crazy, or is she the crazy one for thinking they're crazy? I just wanted to put that out there since she decided, people are crazy for thinking that it's could be. Let's go back. So you on ahead because I want to get that nice.
Did that to you.
I want to go back to that. Let's go back to the crusty headed part. Yeah, let's go back and hear that.
Did that to you. Let me read to it because that's part of your beauty. It's part of, just natural women, having long hair is feminine. But without hair, you're just bald, nappy headed, crusty head, walking around with your shame. Your shame will follow you everywhere you go. No matter how much money you try to buy, to buy wigs. But before I go further, let me read you this verse that God did that to you. God Almighty, my husband, did that to you. Let me read you what the Lord God says. Because remember, there's a lot of these, you will know a man by his fruit. There's all these like black women claiming to be the bride of Christ, and many church people out there claiming Jesus was black. But to their shame follows them everywhere. You'll know a man by his fruit. Look at Africa, and now all the African women are bald headed. And this is what God says about that. The Lord says.
Which that's not, most African women are not bald headed. There are some tribes of African women who do shave their heads bald, but typically the having trouble with growing hair, that's normally African American women, not Africans. Let's continue.
Are haughty, walking around with outstretched necks. You know how they're always like this with the attitude, like haughtiness. Okay, the women of Zion are haughty, walking along with outstretched necks, flirting with their eyes, strutting along with swaying hips. All that twerking with ornaments jingling on their ankles. Therefore, the Lord will bring sores on the heads of the women of Zion. The Lord will make their scalps.
And I got the one which cut right out. But you guys get the gist of what she was saying. In fact, let's try to go back and play that again because I can up that scripture. All right, cool. I'm back. Let's bring up that verse which she was talking about in particular. And let's read what it actually says instead of just listening to Tila Tequila's word for it. I normally would have all this stuff a lot quicker because it's normally in my phone, but I am filming myself with my phone, so just bear with me a couple of seconds. Can't remember exactly where that was. Okay, Jeremiah 2. Let's see, what do you have there, Thomas? It said, Tila is a self-proclaimed New Age guru. She is a pseudo-New Ager. If Jesus existed, the Bible is describing him as a Semite. Some of them have tan skin and curly hair. In fact, I would say most, or not here, but they would definitely at least have tan skin because you got to look at that area. We're talking about the Middle East, and I don't know. I guess some people have the mindset that, you know what, some people in the Middle East were naturally of the Caucasian look, which if you actually study migration patterns, it shows you when certain people got to different regions. So that doesn't make very much sense. And especially if you know about history, just in general, the Ottoman Turks, when they went across there, that a lot of their residents out of Saudi Arabia. Oh, wait a minute. Duh, I had it. Duh, wait a minute. I got it right here on my phone. Why don't I just do that? Pull it up here on the phone. Okay. Little slow right now. I'm just a little bit slow. Let's pull this up. And I thank you all for bearing with me and being patient. Okay. Isaiah 3:17. This one was from the King James Version. The Lord might have the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion. Lord will discover their secret parts. Next verse. In that day, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet. That's talking about like anklets and little bracelets and stuff like that, and their calls and their round tires like moons. That's talking about like big hoop earrings. The chains and the bracelets and the mufflers. It's all kind of different forms of jewelry. The bonnets which they wore over their head, the ornaments of the legs, because there was different kind of jewelry which they wore. They wore a lot of different body jewelry, and something might like wrapped around like the bottom of your thigh, and then it hung down below your dress and jingled and things like that. So they had a on their attire. I know of one other culture which has a tradition of dancing in these types of garments that have bells on them also. Let's see. Isaiah 3:21, the rings and the nose jewels. So, of course, some of them had pierced noses also. I mean, you know, let's see, Isaiah 3:22, the changeable suits of apparel and all the mantles and all the wimples and all the crisping pins. The change of suits and all the different outfits and fancy clothes that they have. And the mantle crisping pins. The wimples and crisping pins are like stuff which you would use to style your hair and could like straightening combs and things like that, or pins and barrettes. Well, it wouldn't have been like barrettes, but they would have been like gold and like pins for your hair and stuff. 3 and 23. The glasses and the fine linen and the hoods and the also that's talking lips and things drink and the hoods is talking about like the cloaks which you would wear over and when it's cold, um and the veils, because in some of the cultures they did wear veils also, which they were kind of light see-through veils but still a veil nonetheless. Isaiah 3:20, smell there be stink instead of well set hair, baldness, and instead of stomach or grinding of sackcloth. So they're saying instead of nice clothes, they're going to be wearing bad clothes. Um, the parts of them which was all naturally sweet might be a little bit not as sweet smelling, and they would have to probably do more of an effort to stay cleaner. Um, and burning instead of beauty to finish that one out. But the reason why I'm gonna keep reading this because she cuts off at these parts when it's talking about all the curses, but it doesn't give you if you read a little bit further on, what it starts telling you is in the end times, all of those things are going to be restored back to the daughters of Zion. And the daughters of Zion, to be specific, are the southern kingdom. So there's still 10 other tribes, or well, actually, like 9.5 other tribes, and about the southern tribes only, those 2.5 tribes. Let's see. Oh, in option or isn't, and I did read the uranium poisoning. Now I wasn't sure which direction she wanted me to go with it. Natural poisoning from waste, or waste improperly disposed and people living near the areas. There's so many different ways to go on that topic. But to keep it simple, uranium is something that naturally earth, a couple of different minerals mixed together, once they're fused the right way, can generate a lot of power. And that power is harnessed for nuclear. What happens normally is it's sound for the most part as long as they're able to keep cool. If you keep them cool and containments where it's able to absorb the radiation coming off, you're okay. If you have a crack and you Okay, I'm back. If you have a crack or any of those things in there and it starts to seep out and you start to lose that cooling or containment, keeping the radiation inside, you will start to have major problems. I'm pretty sure everyone out there, none that we've skipped past. There are plenty of countries which do a lot of illegal dumping of spent nuclear cells. I mean, there's literally certain parts of the country where are national parks, which we just can't go into, and we're like, why? The reason why is because they store spent. You might not be center right now, but years and years ago into the past, that was very different. A lot of their estimates on uranium and that we can just put it on the earth or we can just do this and that and shelf life on. Sorry about all the. I don't know why my signal keeps popping in and out. My apologies. Um, but they didn't really have a good understanding of how long those uranium cells would they didn't have a good idea how long before they were no longer dangerous and when they got to an inert point. That's the problem that they were having, and so they were putting them in all kind of places where they really really shouldn't have put them. What was I going to? Oh, UFOs. I won't really go into the Bible right now, but I'll just paraphrase. Um, and later on, I am going to do a video on my Hebrew apologetics page going into this in depth. But uh, and for those who are playing along and want to look it up on their phones on the or I want to just honestly a lot of these verses you can just type in like the title of the verse or a couple words from it, and a lot of these Bibles, I mean, Google is pretty good at figuring out which verse you're trying to find or verses which what you're trying to find. And so, one of the verses which I always thought was funny when I read it, Elijah. Oh, sorry. Let me. I forgot to drink. Let me get some of my tasty drink for a second. It says Elijah was pulled up into a whirlwind. Now, that's just one example. I mean, in time period, they wouldn't have had any concept necessarily of any kind of flying objects, let alone a flying object which could pick a person up off the ground without touching them and take them away. That's one example. The second example is if you look into Revelations and it gets to talks about the Messiah. When the Messiah returns, it says he's going to with tens of thousands of chariots. Now, if he's coming from the sky and he's in chariots are around, these have to be some kind of flying chariots. Now, keep in mind, some of the way that they said some of the stuff in the Bible, it it doesn't make as much sense because you got to understand if somebody is seeing a vision of something that they've never seen before. It's like if you took your grandfather, asked him to figure out a cell phone. I'm gonna know he'll probably call it a mini a mini moving picture screen or something weird uh, uh or a moving portrait or something. You know what I'm saying? They would use some kind of language which was similar to the time period which they were living in because they could to air or that's a that they would have had to call it whatever they could. And chariot was the optimal mode of transport and the fastest at that time. So whatever he was describing in the air would have to be one of the fastest modes of transportation. So that let's see, what are the third one? It describes it describes seeing something in the sky, which describe wheels sparkling and shiny and bright within a wheel. So wheels kind of like almost like a gyroscope, and one is going the opposite way. It's watching a wheel inside of a wheel. To me, that sounds like some kind of mechanical combustion going. It's something that are there that is why I would kind of lean towards maybe, maybe possibly this is talking about the same thing in which we're seeing, the same thing which now they're coming out and saying, hey, we just don't know what the hell this shit is. It's just shit flying. So I mean, it's not Russia, it's not China, and I don't know if you guys heard Mitt Romney's comment. Mitt Romney said, and it's kind of funny because I was listening to what is it, Fault Lines, with Jamal Thomas, yeah, Jamal Thomas, and he's really big on UFOs and stuff. Um, I know that he's not very. I think he's like agnostic, and so I've been taking a look at the Bible. Won't see some of these correlations, and even when it starts talking about extraterrestrials or aliens, excuse me, the way it describes angels, like in the Bible, like they sound kind of frightening. I mean, to be honest, many of them. I mean, it describes different types. It says like some of them will have, because they have a face, they'll have like a face of a man, but it'll have like four faces, you know, which is kind of interesting. If you think back to like the Rothschilds banquet, they had like that kind of four face kind of thing. It's kind of interesting. But you some of the other things it talked about, like they had wings, but then they had hands up under the wings. It was like I'm saying it was describing a lot of just, if I was looking at it, I would think it's an alien. I mean, that's all you could describe it as. It's not human, whatever the hell it is. And let's see, what did you say, Thomas? Have you noticed that an oval shaped disc is depicted in the background? 1,000-year-old older Christian painting depicting flying chariot. Mm. You're talking about something. I mean, I've always, most people believe that people who believe in the Bible, all of them are like across the board believe the same things. And there are, especially now, I've been seeing a rise in people who have been really looking at it and reading it for themselves instead of just going into church and singing a bunch of songs, passing around the offering tray, communion and getting out. I mean, it I'll tell you this. I grew up around pastors. My uncle's a pastor. I grew up around a bunch of deacons and all that. And so I know that even the pastors and deacons only just go back to certain passages over and over because they have a certain presupposition which they're working from. They believe in it's just about faith and salvation and love each other and love, 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 love. And so they only look to the parts of the Bible that are talking about that. They don't look at when it talks about like building certain things, how if you actually built some of that stuff by the dimensions that they say, it would still stand for a good amount of time. I mean, so early masonry, it's shown in there, whether it was something that they learned that was put into the Bible, where they're documenting, things they learned passed down, whether it mainly. So, but yeah, I have not noticed that. Thomas, you got to send me that because for me, that's almost like a game changer because it shows that even the artists understood that concept of some kind of flying does exist. Um, I also believe like you know, there's so many different. I mean, I wonder like how many different animals that there were like way back when because literally, we know about endangered species. We know about animals that go extinct all the time. I mean, what other animals existed way back when that we have no understanding? Like, um, though the Bible doesn't specifically talk about dinosaurs, there is a passage I believe that is alluding to dinosaurs. Because I know some religious people believe wholeheartedly in dinosaurs, some believe no, that they didn't exist at all. Some people in science believe they exist, some people in science don't. They believe it was a hoax, some of this stuff. So, one past talked about a giant animal with a tail as large as a giant tree. Now, elephants are big, but they have very little tails. Rhinos, they're big, they don't have tails. What else? What other big animals can we think of? Say a camel. Camels don't really have a big. What animal think of that is really large that would have a big? And for me, I can only think of dinosaurs. So for me, I would assume that dinosaurs would be, very logical, a very logical guess because scientists believe, like how I look at a lot of these things is many things can be confirmed and proven. Some people's understanding on it is different than what actually happened. For instance, it talks about and one of it seems that the river was somehow turned into blood. It never actually says that, but it alludes to that it looks like blood. And this is like a big battle sequence or whatever. And so they decide the group who they're fighting against decides, oh, they must be all dead, and they come over there, and then they walk basically right into a slaughter. Um, well, what happened, literally that same river, it's like certain times of the year when the light hits it a certain way, it looks almost completely blood red. Now it's not, but it gives that reflection because of coming off the light coming off the sun in a certain way, reflecting the dirt or something. I can't remember, but it's an actual scientific explanation behind that. The plagues with Moses. If you have, for instance, a bunch of frogs all of a sudden start popping up, that's going to bring flies, and that's going to bring what locusts, and you get what I'm saying. Some things are just natural chain reactions that you can prove scientifically. And some people believe in Mother Nature. Well, why couldn't it just be actually God who's doing that? Making these nature things happen, so these events happen this way. Now, the only difference I feel like from the science community on some of these things is they say, okay, we can see the science on how this could have happened, but we don't believe that some kind of spiritual in this. And my community side will say that no, it is possible that he could have gotten a dream and been told something, a vision and a dream to do something. And it lined up with all the things. Um, I look at how many times, even people who I know of who are not as religious or spiritual in any kind of way, just, sometimes don't you get deja vu? Sometimes don't you have like those, man, I've been here before. Don't you have like all of these kind of unexplainable phenomenons which happen to like all of us, I believe? I mean, how do you explain those things? I mean, I guess I can go on and on and on with, different questions, which I ask people, and because my understanding of a lot of things is different than, like for instance, I'll go into the Immaculate Conception. I do not believe that a child was just born from a woman and not from sex. I don't believe that. And I don't even believe that that's what the Bible is saying. I believe it's a misunderstanding. But that's a whole nother topic to go down. I really want to get that with it. But just I believe that these UFOs, that was something that I wanted to say. I found it very, very interesting that the number of, I guess, sightings or whatever that they wanted to release was 144. Now, let's see. I guess I'll give it 1 minute. In the chat, tell me 144. That number might be why 144 would be of any significance. Figure I'll give you all a little bit longer, see if anybody can guess. All right, nobody yet. So, okay, I'll go ahead and tell you. The reason why 144 is a very interesting number is 104 number of the that would be the elect of Israel. Um, Speaking specifically when it talks about the 12 tribes, and it starts talking about 12,000 from Reuben, 12,000 from Benjamin, Judah, 12,000 from Joseph, 12, and it goes down all the tribes naming them. So 12,000, 12,000 times, I mean, yeah, 12,000 times 12, it comes up to 144,000. And so that 144,000, it's supposed to be the ruling body that is supposed to return with the Messiah. So, so I just thought it was kind of funny and interesting the fact that and the Messiah talks about returning chariots, and it talks about tens of thousands of chariots returning with him. And we have the number 144, and we know he's coming back with 144,000 of the elect. So I just thought that those kind of, I mean, they could have, you know, it could have been 140. They could have made 150. I'm pretty sure that they probably have more sightings than that, but I'm pretty sure this is also just the tip of the iceberg. Because remember, like Men in Black, what was it? Tommy Lee Jones, his character, what was he? K. He said, people are smart, people are rational. No, not people. He said a person is smart, a person is rational, but people are dumb. People get scared. And so it would make sense to me that the government would try to hide these kinds of things. Um, the only thing is, I don't think it's extraterrestrial. Some kind, I think it is a deity connected. He actually not only connected, but definitely doing his business or whatever it is. And we will apparently find out. The reason why, and another thing I found interesting about it, 144 sightings. These are at military installations. So in the Bible, it literally says that he's going to become the king of all of kings, and making them submit to him. So if he's going to destroy all the nations and they're going to submit to him, wouldn't it make sense that you would go and do a little recon on the people you're about to fight? When you fly around and test out, see how well their new ships are. Ooh, they got the F-16. Ooh, they got the F-14. Oh, they got the bomber, the stealth. Okay, let's check them out. The MiG-28. Let's see. They got a little technology. They're not in those little helicopters, on the beach. So let's test them out. Let's see what they got. And not able to keep up to them at all. They're not able to understand how even they're even doing the stuff, which they do. And for the longest, they try to tell us swamp gas, weather balloons, all kind of nonsense. Now the next part is they're open it up, like they literally have a agency, which, but they're getting a ton of funding now, and they are trying to leave it open to anybody who has any kind of thoughts about it to come out and tell them. any stories that you have, what you've seen, if you have video, and I guarantee you we're about to see a lot of stuff coming out because I almost look at the Bible more like for those out there who are fans of Game of Thrones, at the very beginning, it starts off with, you know, this sci-fi kind of stuff which is going on. And then it gets very plain and normal and average. A story of average people interacting something, magic or mystery, a little bit more sci-fi. You get what I'm saying? Sprinkle a little here, and then back to just normal life history, just playing out however it's meant to play out. And then at the very, very end of Game of Thrones, all of this magic stuff starts happening like crazy. And see the gives you a little sprinkle there. And then after a while, at the very end, that's when all the magic comes. That's when you get to see what's really going on. Like for instance, even Exodus, a lot of that can actually be proven out kind of scientifically. Even the parting of the sea. If you find that sea, and I'm doing a video on my Hebrew apologetics page, there's one of the and I will show you guys where I get all this information from. This mountain on the top is completely burnt all the way across the top, like it talks about in the Bible, how God is speaking to them and the flames and fires and all that stuff going on. And then at a certain point, he hides himself. And it just let the thing play out. But he starts off with that. So back to that mountain. I believe it's I might be getting it mixed up with the Noah's Ark because I keep wanting to say Mount Ararat, but I think Mount Ararat is the one in Turkey, which is actually where they found Noah's Ark. But anyway, whichever the actual one is, they were able to literally like read the Bible part, and there'll be seven. There were parts where it said, okay, it was where a cracked rock was. There was a giant, like 100-foot cracked rock there, where you can see where there were little where they built dug in, like I guess little stone, like almost like little small ponds to be able to keep the water which was coming out of, because it looked as if it was some kind of a spring almost. Um, more things as you read through it, and you're able to literally see the stuff that it was talking about in the place when it talks about Moses being in the wilderness. And that interesting part, also before they get into that area, what you notice is, yeah, you see the sea right here, but if you find this certain, if you go down, I think it was like maybe 20 feet or something like that. It might not even been, it had been like, yeah, I think it was maybe about 20 feet. About 20 feet below the, there's like a raised walkway. Now, high tide, low tide, that happens. That's scientifically proven. Is it so far fetched that what is, I get them mixed up. So whatever high tide or low tide comes in, the water is brought back, and they're able to see that you know that the opposite, low tide, high tide, whichever it is, happened, and the water started coming back. And that would explain washing them out without it, us thinking too hard to break the brain. And there's literally a place that has this whole thing literally right there. I'm going to do a video on it, so make sure you check out my other channel, Hebrew Apologetics. But so it proves certain things, and it takes all this kind of crazy mystical pagan nonsense, which the Roman Catholic Church, start getting into, because Most of these people believed in all kind of nonsense that came out of Babylon, and most of these religions. That's the reason why all these kind of virgin versions, because they all originate from Babylon, and it was all speaking about the thing. It's just one was talking about this one singular event or prophecy, and that's pretty. And then a whole ton of other gods. Which, if you look into a lot of the ancient cultures, it was very common if you met another culture to adopt their god and start worshiping that god. So if you actually get to what the Bible said about the birth, but other ones they believe in a virgin birth. All those other ones believe that the God of High birthed himself into a person and is walking around. But if you read the ancient Hebrew, it does not say that. It clearly makes a distinction between the two. They're not the same as in most Christians believe. And so as you read, you see a difference between what these people believe and what it actually says. And also you're able to process it, especially if we all have common sense and use the scientific mind. A lot of this stuff is not that hard to figure out. Like I think of even some of the times when it talks about raising somebody from the dead. If your heart stops beating for a couple of minutes and everybody's patting on you, everything, you're not breathing, there's no pulse, and I start doing the Heimlich on you and I bring you back, could that technically correction? Because everybody would have thought you were dead, and it would appear if they thought that you were dead and I did that, that would appear I brought you back to life. Now, I'm not trying to say that that's exactly what happened, but I'm saying that that's a very plausible explanation. So for some of those people who think everything's so crazy and far fetched, a lot of it is just I feel like the Christian church and their whole and warping it into their understanding instead of reading what it says. And that's a lot of it into versus what it says. So oh yeah, I I did want to talk about was it Biden and Syria and all that, but I'm gonna wait till and to that. El just did. I just watched L's most recent podcast, and it was really good information. So, oh, but if you watch, you'll definitely have an insight into you have an insight into you know what we're going to be talking about this weekend, because we're definitely going to be talking about Syria. We're going to be talking about the Delta variant. We're going to be we're just going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So make sure to come check that out. Oh yeah, um, Assange. I want to make sure that I talk about Assange before I get out of here. Let's see, what did you say, Thomas? Sent you an email of the biblical UFOs. Cool, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Um, Assange. I'm thinking. What was it? Misty. Misty was out there familiar. Um, but she summed it up the whole thing like the best way you could, because on the progressive soapbox, well, not progressive soapbox, I forget that's his other, on fault lines. Um, Jamal asked her like, how could you if you had to sum, how would you sum this up to get across the urgency and get people to understand this Assange thing? And what she said was, in essence, I know I'm not gonna get it exactly right, but I'll try my best. She said something to the effect of the jurisdiction for all speech worldwide, and at the same time, not allow those people the same due process rights which we would afford somebody as an American citizen. So they're trying to apply American law, people who don't live in America and who are not citizens of America, and literally trying to convict this man to, I mean, they, I mean, I heard what plus year crazy stuff which they're trying to do, and it's all because they have egg on their face because he leaked some information about them. It wasn't confidential information. It wasn't anything which was even detrimental or affected mission status or anything like that. It was just he showed a video of American troops doing detestable things. And that's the problem which America has. So I think about it even with the whole critical theories. America wants to only be the stuff they do. I mean, and I'm not saying every American, of course. I'm saying the people which run this country and the politicians who run this country, because I include them all. It doesn't matter congressman, senator, male, female. I group them all in because they're all a part of this game. Some are willing participants, some are actually core in this thing, and so on, but they're all you know just as guilty. These are the people, which is why the United States at some point is going to become the enemy of every nation. And at one point, it doesn't matter how big the bully is, how strong the bully is. If everybody is against the bully, the charity increases. For those people who think, oh, well, American down. Well, the British Empire thought that. The Spanish, they thought that also. So did the Portuguese, for that matter. So did the French. So did the Romans, or we'll say the Roman, the initial Roman Catholic era dealt with all of those European powers. The Roman Empire fell, the Byzantine Empire fell, the Greek Empire fell, the Egyptians fell, Babylonians fell. See, what else can we think of? I mean, I could just keep going of the major superpowers who, I mean, go through all the different superpowers throughout Russia, where Russia's had its time it was a power, and then it had its time. Same had a long time where it was subjugated to the Western. To think that any nation cannot go down is complete and utter, you know, arrogance and insanity. Takes all that's all it takes to get, and we're making more and more enemies of people who have nuclear weapons. Just some food for thought. I'm glad you all tuned in with me. I'm sorry for all the problems which I had earlier with all the communication issues, our signal issues. For those who are near LA this weekend, make sure to come out and show your support. It's going to be I can't remember what termed it, but it's kind of like this so-called Independence Day, or I guess I'll call it Colonial Day. So yeah, we're going to be out and about in Echo Park. I believe it starts at 12 p.m. Pacific and it ends at about 2 p.m. It'll be Echo Park near the playground area. I know Steve Slow News Day will be there. Glory will be there. I know Convo Couch, Pasta and Fiorella, they'll be there. I'll be there. Not sure who else, but if you guys are in the area, I'll be excited to meet you all in person. And what was I going to say? I might even try to do a little impromptu live, or never know. Since we're all together there, I might end up doing an interview on somebody else's show. I'll leave that open, but make sure you guys check that out. You guys take the time to sit down and to me rant and give my opinions. And I guess most of the time I haven't ticked off too many people. Nobody's really cursing me out yet. So I appreciate you all. You all have a great evening. Please be safe this week. Try not to let people get you too frazzled. Also, that was another thing I wanted to say about Assange. Um, we really, I feel like now the tide has turned just a little bit, and sometimes all you need is that little crack. You can get that crack of daylight. You can just squeeze right through. And with the Assange thing, with the wing and admitting that they had been that they had lied about their account, um, and they also, I mean, if you lose her in detail, it was horrible. I don't even know why that was taken seriously, but oh well, we all know it's a witch hunt. They gotta kind of make it look good, but I feel like now it's all falling apart, and the Biden administration is trying to hurry up and just get it done as fast as possible before it starts to get to a point where the media has to take hold of it and push back. It kind of reminds me of shows and like the captain, like the guys, they're normally on top of their shit, and then they think they got the guy, and then they mess up, and then now the captain has to like suspend them or something for a brief time, and they swear, "Oh no, we got it right now, captain," and he's like, "All right, just do what you do, just hurry up, do it under the radar." And this is, I kind of see it the same kind of situation, just trying to hurry up, just hurry up and get it done, because at some point we gotta go on ahead and start covering it. And so it's kind of like that same thing. There, those cops. If you guys hurry up and get it done, you guys can solve it before we have to turn the case over. And it's kind of one of those situations. So, um, you know, I wish, I hope for that man that he can get off. This is, and I don't like to see anybody get ran through the mud like this, especially from a tyrannical government with it's perfectly these ever on and places that don't have a there's ever. So I just hope that we're all vigilant. You can be proud of where you're from in America and be proud of your friends and your family and still be able to call out the truth of what this nation's history has been and thank you all for joining me. Have a good one.